If you only came here to understand the core idea of the Ronin Code, stay for the next 2 minutes. The Ronin Code is simple, but it is not easy. It is the discipline of a person who has stopped waiting to be rescued. A Ronin was a samurai without a master. He had lost the structure that gave him orders, rank, protection, and direction. But that loss created the real test. Without a master watching him, would he still live by a code? Without reward, would he still train? Without recognition, would he still remain honorable? Without someone forcing him to move, would he still command himself? That is the entire point of this video. Most people do not lack potential. They lack self-command when no one is watching. They can act disciplined when there is pressure, praise, fear, or supervision. But when life becomes quiet, when nobody is coming to motivate them, guide them, forgive them, or save them, they return to comfort. They scroll. They delay. They wait for the perfect mood, the perfect opportunity, the perfect sign. The Ronin Code says, stop waiting. Your life begins to change when you accept that no one is responsible for your standards except you. Not your parents, not your past, not society, not the people who doubted you, not the people who abandoned you. The code is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming governed. It means waking up when you said you would wake up. Doing the work before you feel inspired. Protecting your attention. Keeping small promises. Removing what weakens you. Turning loneliness into training. Turning pain into wisdom instead of identity. If that is all you needed, that is the essence. But if something in you recognizes that this is not just an idea, but a path you have been avoiding, then stay. Because now we go deeper. Welcome to Eternal Philosophies. Chapter 1. When no one comes. If no one came to save you, what would you actually become? Not what you would promise at 2 in the morning, but what would remain when the apology never arrives, the mentor does not appear, and the unfinished work is still waiting exactly where you left it? One day, every person meets a silence that does not answer. In that silence, the truth appears. No one is coming. But the tragedy is mistaking the absence of rescue for the absence of hope. That silence is not empty. It is a mirror. It shows you the part of you that was waiting to be chosen, forgiven, guided, or pushed. The Ronin understood something different. He was a samurai without a lord, but the question was whether he still had a code. Anyone can appear disciplined under supervision. Anyone can look strong when structure is holding them upright. But what remains when no one rewards your effort, punishes your weakness, or notices whether you rise or decay? That is where the code begins. No applause, no audience, no rescue, no one standing behind you to turn weakness into obedience. This is the moment most people misread. They think the absence of pressure means they are free to drift, but it actually means they are finally responsible. When the master is gone, the self must rise. Chapter 2. Command the lower self. The enemy is not laziness. Laziness is only the mask. The real enemy is the belief that your life is still someone else's responsibility. Your past, your circumstances, the people who failed you, or the support that never came. But the Ronin does not wait for fairness before he becomes formidable. He begins in the ruins. The first law is this: stop waiting for permission to become who you already know you must be. You know what weakens you, what steals your mornings, and which excuses are fear dressed in better language. You know the habits that make you smaller. You know the pleasures that promise relief and leave you emptier. Knowing is not enough. Discipline begins when knowledge becomes obedience. Begin before they understand. Begin before they support you. Begin before your confidence is perfect. Begin while the evidence is invisible. Do not make your transformation dependent on being believed by people who are still measuring you by your old patterns. The first proof of discipline is not greatness. It is movement. Then command the morning. A person loses his life in small permissions. 5 more minutes, 1 more scroll, 1 more tomorrow. The first hour is not just time. It is a declaration. Wake when you said you would wake. Put the body in motion. Work on the mission before the world gets your attention. A blade left unattended gathers rust, and the human will is no different. But the morning is only the first battlefield. The next is mood. Most people build their lives on emotional weather. If they feel inspired, they work. If they feel confident, they act. When the weather changes, their identity changes with it. The Ronin does not deny emotion. He refuses to let emotion hold the sword. You will feel tired, afraid, and unmotivated. Do the smaller version, but do not do nothing. A feeling is a visitor, not a command. Guard the gate between impulse and action. Chapter 3. The Forge. Loneliness can destroy a person, but it can also reveal him. One loneliness says, "No one sees me, therefore I am nothing." The other says, "No one sees me, therefore my reasons must become pure." When people are watching, discipline can become performance. When people are praising, sacrifice can become vanity. But when you are alone, the truth becomes harder to fake. The Ronin uses loneliness as a dojo, because a person who cannot stand alone will eventually kneel for belonging. That does not mean you should worship isolation or reject people. It means you should stop fearing the season where no one is clapping for you. Let it teach you to work without applause, train without validation, and become without announcement. Then find the chain. There is always one place where power is leaking. The phone in the first hour, food used as anesthesia, pornography, gossip, resentment, comparison, alcohol, fantasy, or advice that never becomes action. Sometimes the chain is subtler. Explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, starting over endlessly, or protecting victimhood because it shields you from responsibility. Remove one chain, not 10. 1. Remove it seriously and patiently. Then rebuild self-trust with promises so small they cannot hide from you. Wake on time. Train for 10 minutes. Write 1 page. Refuse 1 impulse. Finish 1 task. Tell 1 truth. Small does not mean weak. Small means undeniable. Self-trust is not a motivational feeling. It is a memory of your own integrity, repeated until your mind finally believes you again. Chapter 4. Pain, attention, and the unseen work. Pain happened. Betrayal happened. Loss happened. Humiliation happened. Failure happened. The code does not ask you to deny this. It asks you not to build a throne for it. Pain can be a teacher, but it becomes a tyrant when you let it name you forever. What happened to you may explain the battlefield. It does not excuse surrender. At some point, the question must change from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What kind of person will I become because I refuse to waste it?" If betrayal came, become discerning. If failure came, become precise. If abandonment came, become rooted. The Ronin carries scars, but he does not let scars issue commands. Protect your attention, because your life follows it. A person can lose his future without one dramatic mistake, simply by giving his mind away in fragments. Outrage, envy, fantasy, lust, fear, comparison, and entertainment that was meant to be rest, but became escape. Focus is not lost. It is spent. Whatever commands your attention trains your desire, and whatever trains your desire shapes your destiny. Distraction is a rival master. This is why the unseen work matters. Public discipline has witnesses and reward. Private discipline builds the soul. The unseen meal, the unseen workout, the unseen study, the unseen refusal, the unseen hour where no one knows whether you worked or wasted it. The world sees outcomes and calls them sudden, but nothing real is sudden. The visible life is only the delayed revelation of invisible habits. So do not underestimate the private hour. Do not underestimate the quiet refusal. Do not underestimate the day where nothing dramatic happens except that you kept your word. Chapter 5. Kill the fantasy self. The final law is this: kill the fantasy version of your future and become faithful to the real one. Many people are not undisciplined because they lack dreams. They are undisciplined because they are addicted to an imaginary life where they're already strong, respected, healed, admired, and transformed. The fantasy gives them the emotional reward of progress without the humiliation of practice. This is dangerous because the fantasy self can become the greatest enemy of the real self. The fantasy self is effortless. The real self sweats. The fantasy self is admired. The real self is ignored. The fantasy self lives in tomorrow. The real self must obey today. The Ronin kills the fantasy because he respects reality. The future is built in the next action: the bad page, the imperfect workout, the shaking apology, the first honest day after 100 false starts, the quiet refusal of the old appetite. Not the perfect action, the next action. The one that is available while the mind is still negotiating, while the body is still tired, while the old identity is still begging to survive. This is where the code becomes real. Not in the dream, in the act. Not in the identity you describe, in the standard you keep. Final chapter. Become the master you were waiting for. And now you understand why no one coming to save you is not the end. It is the beginning of sovereignty. When rescue disappears, responsibility appears. When the crowd is gone, the code remains. When the master is gone, the self must rise. He rises. He trains. He removes what weakens him. He guards his attention. He keeps small promises. He lets pain instruct him but not define him. He walks through loneliness without bitterness and acts before he feels ready. Slowly, the world feels the presence of someone who has stopped betraying himself. This is the Ronin Code. Not a fantasy of violence, not a costume of toughness, not a performance of hardness. It is the quiet, relentless decision to become governable by your highest self. So when tomorrow comes, do not ask whether you feel ready, whether the past was fair, or whether motivation has returned. Ask only this: what does the code require now? Then do it. Do it tired. Do it afraid. Do it unseen. Do it before the excuse finishes speaking, because no one is coming. If you understand this correctly, those are not words of despair. They are the words that open the cage. The road is before you. The gate is unguarded. The blade is in your hands. The master you were waiting for has been standing inside your own discipline all along. Become him. Thanks for joining Eternal Philosophies. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.